Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Respected brothers and sisters, it is a topic, it is not an easy topic, and it is actually the foundation of all our a'mal. It is directly related to our a'mal. And when this topic was given to me, I found it difficult to present. So I sought help. I got help from scholars around America, especially from Chicago, from New York, and a nationally recognized entity, HMS. Most of you probably heard of their reputation and their name. It's the Halal monitoring services that are nationally recognized not only by Muslims, but they're actually registered by the state of New York and recognized in tri-state area in New York, New Jersey, and surroundings. And they are trying to go national level in all states of America. Currently, they're in 23 states. And they have a presentation that's set up. I will not bombard with information, but we will lay down a few principles, and I'll mention the topic. And most of you probably saw the topic is related to halal, consuming halal. Now there are two parts to it, and we will discuss only one part. One part is earning halal, making sure what comes into your pocket is halal. Your job is not something wrong. Earning is correct. We will not discuss that part today. But we will discuss that part is what you eat, what you purchase with that halal income, and then you bring it to your house, and then you eat it, and then you feed it to your family. Now most of you probably are thinking, which generally people, Muslims in general in America think, when it comes to halal, everybody has an app downloaded in their phone, right? Scan halal. So whenever you go and you pick up something and you just scan the barcode, is it halal or not? Muslims are very particular about that, alhamdulillah. That's a very good thing. But we're not talking about that. You can't scan that object that we're going to talk about today. You cannot scan that. And that is the meats. The meat that we eat. Chickens, turkeys, beef, goat, and things like that. The meats that we eat, how do you scan that? How do you find out if it's halal? Is it enough that a Muslim brother is selling it? It's a Muslim shop. It's a Muslim restaurant. It must be halal, right? Wrong. We're not in a Muslim majority country. If we are in Pakistan, for example, or India, or any of the Arab countries, right? Any Muslim countries in Africa, when you go to the shop, for example, and you ask the person, I need 4 or 5 chickens. He'll just grab them from the cage in front of you. He will slaughter it. Whether he prays or he doesn't pray, that doesn't matter. But he's a Muslim, and he's slaughtering in front of you, and he's saying, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. He's mentioning the name of Allah, and he's slaughtering it in front of you. Or a goat, or a cow, or other animals, camel, things like that. A Muslim is slaughtering in front of you and saying, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, mentioning the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is being slaughtered. That is in Muslim majority countries. We cannot do the same thing over here. We cannot say a Muslim brother is selling it. It must be. He's not slaughtering it in his refrigerator. He's not slaughtering it in his shop. It's not even legal to do that. Right. When you go to a slaughterhouse, for example, you yourself, you walk into a slaughterhouse and you see a Muslim guy, he catches the chicken and he's slaughtering it in front of you with his hand, saying Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and then he's cutting the throat of the animal. Bismillah, go ahead and eat it. You don't need to ask any further questions. Brother, do you pray 5 times a day? No, you don't have to ask that. Even if he doesn't look like a Muslim, but he is a Muslim, right? He's talking to you, you know that his name is Muslim. He's from India, Pakistan, Saudi, or somewhere else. So he's a Muslim, he's slaughtering it in front of you and saying Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, you don't need to ask further questions. But when the meat is in a freezer, and you go to a shop, for example, or it's in a restaurant, and you go and you say, I want the double patty burger, the beef burger, and the Muslim brother is cooking in front of you, did he slaughter it in front of you? Of course not, he can't do that. So he bought that meat from somewhere. Now why do we have to talk about that? Why is that so important? And we're not talking about the ingredients. Oh, this bread has this ingredient and that bread has this ingredient. Why don't we talk about that first? That's more important because meat is just one thing. But the ingredients are so many. We have so many, even water has ingredient list, ingredients. Allahu alam what water contains. But we don't talk about ingredients in this discussion because there is a principle in Islam that al-aslu fil ashiya'i al-ibaha. Generally, things are halal in Islam. Generally, the things are halal. For example, if you see bread itself is halal. Unless it's proven that there is something in it that's not right. Then because of that one ingredient, the bread will be considered haram. Or similarly, other things as well. That's why we don't talk about ingredients first. But there is a principle similar to this one about meats. And that says, al-aslu fil luhumi al-hurma. That originally all meats are haram. All meats are haram. Even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the goat and the cow and the chicken and the lamb and the sheep and the camel, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them halal. But there is a condition. When these animals are halal, when they are slaughtered in accordance to the rules of Islam. And there are conditions that you have to meet in order for you to call that meat halal. So, we talk about meats because it is more important to us. Because generally, things are halal. Like you're eating a bag of chips. Itself, chips is not wrong unless there is an ingredient in it that is wrong. That makes it impermissible. But there's nothing wrong with the chips. Generally, if you look at it. But if there is meat in front of you, you cannot touch it unless you're sure it is actually halal. How does it become halal? There are conditions. A Muslim must slaughter it. The slaughterer must be a Muslim or one from Ahlul Kitab, a practicing Christian or a Jew. That's first condition. Another condition is he must say the name of Allah. He must say the name of God. Right? A Christian must say the name of that one creator. Or the Jew must say the name of his Lord or King or whatever they want to call him. And a Muslim must say Bismillah Allahu Akbar. He must pronounce the name of Allah. This is another condition. Another condition is that there are 4 main arteries that run through the throat of an animal. That's the windpipe, the esophagus. This must be cut. 2 of the jugular veins must be cut. 1 or the 2 must be cut. And then there's a food pipe that goes as well. These 4 are there. Out of the 4, 3 must be cut. And you must not cut all the way to the neck. You must not chop the whole head off. And there are so many conditions. When these conditions are fulfilled, that animal now is halal. That meat halal is halal to consume for a Muslim. Now, to make it brief, why is it important to talk about halal? Halal in general, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses all mankind, not just Muslims, not just specific type of people, and says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, Ya ayyuhan nas, kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. That eat from the pure things, permissible pure things from the land. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. And do not follow the footsteps of shaitan. إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ. This is a general khitab, a general address to the mankind. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah, few ayat after this ayah, mentions and specifically addresses to the believers. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُلُوا مِن طَيِّبَاتِ مَا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ. Notice the address has changed a little bit. It is still talking about the same, eating something that is pure. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, مَا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ. What we have provided you, what we have assigned. This is halal and this is haram. You can eat this and you cannot eat this. What Allah has told us and what Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us. Then it is a similar command that Allah gives to the messengers. Same command is given to the believers and same command is given to the messengers as well. Because this is such an important matter that what you eat has an effect in your a'mal, in your deeds, in your actions. It is very important that you notice what you're eating. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions to the messengers, Ya ayyuha rusul kulu min at-tayyibati wa'amalu salihah. That, O messengers, O prophets, eat from the pure things and do the right actions and do the pious actions, do the righteous deeds. Now, when one thinks about it and says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the messengers to eat that which is pure and do the righteous deeds, what does this have to do with each other? What does it have to do with each other? Because what you eat is directly related to the al-a'mal as-salihah, the righteous deeds. Whatever gives energy to your body, that energy will reflect in your a'mal. So you will notice a person, majority of the humanity today, you'll notice they don't care about what they eat. They eat whatever they want. Like you go to Japan, you go to China, they eat everything. They don't leave anything. Right? I don't know if human is left, but everything else is halal for them. They eat everything and anything. And you can see their life as well. Or anybody else. Nowadays, even Muslims, you see their life is in chaos. And they can't figure out, why is it that way? They can't figure out. And one of the reasons is when a person puts something wrong in his body, it reflects in his a'mal. It reflects in his actions. And to give you an example of that, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was very particular in what he ate. So one time, one of his servants, he got some food for him. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was hungry for almost 3 days. He had not had anything to eat. So he gave him the food, and out of extreme hunger, he just took a morsel. And he didn't realize that I was supposed to confirm, where'd you get this from? So the servant was surprised and he said, wait, you always ask before you eat. You always ask, where did you get this food from? But today you didn't ask. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu told him that I was so hungry, I couldn't even control myself when I saw food. So I ate a morsel, but tell me, where did you get it from? And he said, in the times of Jahiliyyah, when I was a non-Muslim, I used to perform few actions for a tribe, and I used to perform kahana, right, soothsaying, or magic, or whatever he was doing. So at that time, I did something for them, and I didn't take the pay for it. I was not paid for that. Then I accepted Islam, and I forgot about it, and I passed by them, and they saw me, and they said, we owe you this money from that time. So I got that money, and I realized you were hungry for so long, so I bought some food. So when Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu heard that, he went crazy. He put his hand in his mouth, and he was trying to get that morsel out of his stomach. And he started vomiting and vomiting and vomiting. And he couldn't do it because out of hunger, when the stomach is hungry for so long, it'll be hard for you to vomit. There's nothing in there to vomit. But he was trying so hard that eventually he vomited blood. So people told him, can you stop? You'll kill yourself. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu told them, Abu Bakr only has two choices. Either the haram morsel comes out of Abu Bakr's body, or the ruh comes out of the body. Either it's my life, or that luqma, that morsel has to come out of my body. If that becomes part of my body and that gives me energy, how can this body enter Jannah after that? It's not going to happen. And then they told him to drink water so you can fill up your stomach and then vomit. So he did that. And finally, when he was 100% sure, then he stopped. They were so particular about eating. But today, unfortunately, we live in a country where, we have become careless about everything. It's everything. It's not just food. Right? We'll just go to any restaurant, any shop, and we'll buy it just because the brother is a Muslim. And I'm not endorsing any business here, and I'm not telling you that all the businesses are wrong. Alhamdulillah, all are Muslims. We're not saying that. We're telling you a problem that's happening, a problem that's occurring. And generally, when you go to a Muslim country, you will not do so many questions. Like, you go to Pakistan and you go to a shop or a restaurant, for example, you won't ask this many questions. Like, everybody's a Muslim. The person who slaughtered the meat is also a Muslim. The person who brought it, also a Muslim. And while he was bringing it, there was no confusion with halal and haram because everything is halal. But over here, that's not the case. Majority of the slaughterhouses in America today are owned by non-Muslims. They don't have Muslim slaughterers. They have machine slaughter. A machine is cutting. Machine is not a Muslim or Christian or Jew. Machine has no religion. A machine is cutting the chickens. Right? So there's no concept of halal over here unless Muslims come out and make special effort for it. And one of the ways is you go ahead and you cut it yourself, which majority of the Muslims won't do. And another way is, for example, you trust an entity that is doing that on your behalf. So that's what the effort is, right? And I don't want to make the information long because the brothers were requesting that maybe someone will have a lot of questions. And there is a lot of information, there are a lot of ahadith, there are a lot of ayat of the Quran that we can go through, but the time will not permit us. So I think it is important that we take questions from whoever has any question regarding meats. Okay, ingredients, inshallah, we will ask the coordinators maybe to have another gathering for the ingredients, what to look for and what to avoid. But the meat problem is very serious in America especially. Alhamdulillah, in Indiana, we don't have that big problem because there are 3 major slaughterhouses in Indiana. Alhamdulillah, they actually have Muslim slaughtermen who are slaughtering by hand with all the conditions that Islam lays out for us. So alhamdulillah, that work has been going on. We have also made an announcement. We have an entity here in Indiana that is not only certified, but regularly monitored. Regularly monitored, just want to quickly run down what does that mean. There are few steps in the meat that are involved. We're not talking about the farm where the animal grew up. What the animal is being fed, is it organic or not? That's not our concern. You can inshallah look that up and you can see if that's okay for you to eat or not. We're talking about when it becomes permissible to consume. Even if the animal is not brought up organically, that still does not make the animal haram. It's still halal after you cut it in the right way. We're talking about slaughterhouse where the chicken or meat is being cut. That must be monitored as well. Make sure that over there everything is happening properly according to the rules of Islam. Then once that meat is cut over there, somebody has to transport it from there to a storage facility or a cutting facility. That transporter must also be monitored because a lot of these transporters are private and they mix. Like for example, they'll pick up 10 pounds of the chicken and they'll deliver 50 pounds. Like, where did you get the 40 pounds from? How did that happen? That's what's happening, I'm telling you. Okay, then after that it gets processed in a plant. That must also be monitored. And then that plant will transport that chicken to your local store, for example. And then local restaurant, for example. Now what ends up happening is when the demand increases, the local restaurant owner or shop owner, he says, you know, I was not expecting this many customers, so I just went to Restaurant Depot and I just picked up all the chicken they had. Right? And then he'll feed you everything haram and labeling it halal. Like telling you, like any chicken, if you go buy it from Restaurant Depot, it's very cheap. It's very cheap. But if you come to a store which is actually selling halal, per pound is like a couple of dollars, right? It hurts, but it is halal. Now this person, if he's not regularly monitored, what he will end up doing? He'll see, you know, all these Muslims, they trust me now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to buy the 10 pound, that one box of right chicken, the halal chicken, and I'm going to keep that box. And I'll keep filling it every week. I'll buy it for like 50 cents a pound, for example, from Restaurant Depot or somewhere, and I'll sell it for $6, extra profit for me. That is what's happening in America. It is the truth. We have to speak it. And I'm not telling you any specific entity. I'm not here for that. I'm not here to tell you this restaurant is not okay and that shop is okay. I'm just telling you what we're trying to do. Now, why are we engaging public? Why are we not going to the shop, every shop owner, and telling them? We're telling you because you're the consumer. You decide what comes in that shop and what comes in that restaurant. The owner does not decide. The owner does not decide. Now, if you go there and you say, you know, halal is very expensive, just give me anything that's cheap. Obviously, the owner doesn't care. He'll just bring you whatever works for him, whatever makes him more money. Now, we're trying to engage the public and we're telling them, you are the controller of the market. If you demand halal, there is plenty of halal. You don't have to worry about it. Now, it is extremely important because it is part of our identity, eating halal. That Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave the testimony and said, "Man salla salatana, wastaqbala qiblatana, wa akala zabihatana, فذلك المسلم في ذمة الله ورسوله." Rasulullah gave testimony, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whoever prays our prayer, salat that we know, whoever faces our qibla, not some other qibla in Iraq or somewhere else, and whoever eats from our zabiha, that halal which Islam tells us that this is halal. Not just say, brother, say Bismillah and eat from wherever you want. Not that halal. We're not talking about that one. We're talking about properly slaughtered meat and proper halal that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this is tayyib, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam obligated upon us. Then that is the person who is a Muslim. And he is also, or she is also, in the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is very important that we care for what we eat, specifically meats. And it is a big problem in America. And inshallah, it's been almost 25 years. Scholars are trying to work hard on this matter. And alhamdulillah, they have achieved great victory in the market. And Muslims are realizing what the problem is, and they're demanding the right thing. And alhamdulillah, a lot is happening. And inshallah, next month, we are also planning for a seminar that will lay out all these things in detail. We only spoke for 20 minutes. But inshallah, we will have a lengthy seminar which will lay out all the things for you, which will tell you all the details. Inshallah, it will be coming next month. We will announce it, inshallah ta'ala.